Ethiopia says it started the final phase of its military operation against local forces in its northern Tigray region. There are fears for the safety of civilians in the area. Thousands of Argentinians have been paying their respects to the footballing great Diego Maradona. He's lying in state at the presidential palace in Buenos Aires. The country is observing 3 days of national mourning. A Turkish court has sentenced more than 300 people to life in prison over the failed coup of July 2016. Almost 500 are facing charges, including a US-based cleric who's being tried in his absence. And Germany is seeking an agreement with EU countries to keep ski resorts closed until early January in an attempt to curb the spread of coronavirus. Italy and France support a coordinated approach, but Austria has voiced concern.
Hong Kong's Chief Carrie Lam praises the city's new national security law in her yearly speech to lawmakers. The law has been widely denounced as suppressive. China's foreign minister meets with Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga in Beijing. The two discuss ties between the countries. In Spain, taxi drivers in Madrid protest the local government's lack of support linked to the COVID-19 crisis. And SpaceX launches 60 additional Starlink satellites, bringing the total number of the Earth orbiters to 955.
We start here in Japan with the latest on the coronavirus. More than 2,500 new cases were reported across the country on Thursday, including nearly 500 in Tokyo. Experts in the capital are warning that the number of serious cases is expected to rise and risks putting further strain on the medical system. Tokyo's daily average has hovered around 400 in the past week, a significant increase from the week before. The number of seriously ill patients reached 60 on Thursday for the first time since the nationwide state of emergency declaration was lifted in May. 40% of hospital beds allocated for serious COVID-19 cases are occupied. Officials plan to double the number of such beds from 150 to 300. But it's not clear how quickly hospitals can do that.
We're on the verge of a serious situation where ordinary healthcare must be sacrificed. Strict measures should be taken immediately to prevent the spread of infection.
Experts are requesting people take basic preventive measures. They're also cautioning against non-essential travel to and from areas where the virus is rapidly spreading. Tokyo officials have asked bars and restaurants that serve alcohol to close earlier starting this weekend. Local officials are making the same request for businesses in Osaka, Sapporo, and Nagoya. Over 141,000 people have tested positive in Japan since the outbreak began. More than 2,000 have died. Many restaurants in the capital are now facing a difficult decision about whether to do what's being asked of them. As NHK World's Sakamoto Mari reports, the timing only adds to their dilemma.
The message from Tokyo's governor was stark.
We need to prevent deaths, prevent serious cases, and prevent the collapse of the medical system.
With the number of infections continuing to rise in the city of 14 million and the growing number of patients in serious condition, Koike is asking businesses to help turn the tide. She wants establishments that serve alcohol to close at 10 p.m. for 20 days starting on Saturday. Owners that comply will receive about $4,000 in compensation. For Sugimoto Kaori, the announcement had an element of deja vu.
This measure has already been taken twice. The situation is very tough for restaurants.
She renovated her restaurant earlier this month to help prevent infections. Heaters were installed on the terrace so customers can dine comfortably and safely outdoors. She was expecting to be busy with year-end parties, which often go late into the night. But in the last few days, people have started calling to cancel reservations.
We have tried to shift our business hours to be open longer during the day, and we sell takeout lunches, but our sales are still down sharply.
This economist says closing early during this season will deal a heavy blow since many restaurants rely on the end-of-year boom in business.
I think the Metropolitan Government wanted to avoid requesting shorter operating hours in December. But if the number of patients with severe symptoms continues rising, a state of emergency may be declared sooner or later. That would be even worse for the local economy, so I believe Tokyo officials are making this request now to avoid such a scenario.
Restaurant owners will be hoping their sacrifices won't be in vain as health authorities try to bring the situation under control ahead of the New Year holiday. Sakamoto Mari, NHK World.
South Korea confirmed 583 new cases on Wednesday. The figure was the highest daily toll since March, when infections spread following the emergence of a large cluster in a religious sect in the south. Seoul confirmed a record 213 new cases, while neighboring Gyeonggi province had 183. The capital and its surrounding areas accounted for about 70% of Wednesday's total. Education Minister Yoo Eun-hye asked the public to help with efforts to prevent the spread of the virus ahead of next week's annual college entrance examinations.
The government is asking all citizens to stop their regular group activities for a week, starting today. We need to give consideration to parents whose children will be taking entrance exams.
On Tuesday, the South Korean government banned dining in restaurants in the metropolitan area after 9 p.m. Only takeout and home deliveries are allowed after that. 70 soldiers came down with the virus after taking part in a military drill. The Defense Department has decided not to allow its troops to take leave until December 7th. Also in South Korea, President Moon Jae-in says close ties with China have helped in tackling the pandemic. He made that remark when he welcomed Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. President Moon said he hopes the two countries can develop their strategic partnership by boosting personal and cultural exchanges. Foreign Minister Wang said they'll survive the difficulties posed by the pandemic, continue to move hand in hand, and together mark the 30th anniversary of their diplomatic ties in 2022. Moon and Wang agreed their countries will work toward a visit to South Korea by President Xi Jinping. They also affirmed the need to work together to realize a nuclear-free Korean peninsula. Japanese prosecutors are requesting the death penalty for a 30-year-old man who's pled guilty to murdering 9 people at his apartment near Tokyo. Shiraishi Takahiro made a court appearance on Thursday. He's charged with killing the victims, stealing their belongings, and abandoning their remains in coolers. He's also charged with sexually assaulting the female victims. His defense team is arguing that the victims agreed to be killed, which could affect the sentence handed down by the courts. But during his trial, Shiraishi admitted that no victims consented to be killed. In demanding the death penalty on Thursday, prosecutors said Shiraishi's testimony is consistent with the objective facts and that its credibility cannot be denied. A ruling is expected December 15th. A severe cyclone has lashed India's southern coast, killing at least 3 people. India's meteorological department says Cyclone Nivar made landfall in the country's southeast early on Thursday. It then moved northwest across the state of Tamil Nadu, bringing wind gusts of up to 145 kilometers per hour, along with heavy rains. The department says the storm remains in the area on Thursday, causing wind gusts of up to 80 kilometers per hour. Local officials said that hundreds of thousands of people have been evacuated across the state. Meanwhile, the cyclone continues to wreak havoc in several parts of Tamil Nadu. Incidents of uprooted trees, collapsed walls, power outages, and floods have been reported. Roads, trains, and airports are slowly recovering after being completely shut down. India's Navy and Coast Guard put their disaster relief teams on standby on Wednesday. The Army has deployed 8 rescue teams to undertake emergency operations. A high alert was issued for Thursday as well, as authorities warn that the danger has not yet passed.